Hey, everybody, welcome back to the show. Really excited to have my good friend Brian Driscoll with us today. He is an online marketing expert, primarily Facebook and pay-per-click and SEO, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Professional real estate investors know that it's not really about the real estate. In fact, real estate is just a vehicle to freedom. A group of over 100 of the nation's leading real estate investors from across the country meet several times a year at the Investor Fuel Real Estate Mastermind to share ideas on how to strengthen each other's businesses, but also to come together as friends and build more fulfilling lives for all of those around us. On today's show, we're going to continue our conversation of fueling our businesses and fueling our lives. I'm glad you're here. Hey, Brian, welcome to the show.
What's up, man? Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, excited to talk about it. It's funny because you run an agency, it's all digital. I run an agency that's not digital. And so the funny thing is we got limited time to record this show now because you and I have been talking for like 45 minutes or something, a half hour about just talking shop, So yeah. I guess we should have hit the record button and just recorded all that, and then we would be done.
That's so true.
But hey, man, before we jump into this, why don't you give people a little context for your background, like because you're a real estate investor yourself, so how you got into this space?
Yeah, sure. So I got into digital marketing back in like 2005, somewhere around there. I got involved with it was called Odesk back in the day, which is now Upwork. So I was a freelancer. I just got on there. I was really good with SEO. And I made a whole business, and I started an agency. I dealt with like more national and international, like big e-commerce type of companies. And then about 8 or 9 years ago, I bought my first property, like a investment property off of Craigslist. I saw the wholesale fee. I'm like, geez, I made 15 grand. So what I did is I slapped up a Carrot website and put some ads up behind it. I'm like, I'm just going to see if I can get my own leads. And we crushed it. Yeah. So we started doing that for a while, generating deals there. And then I was talking with my buddy, Chad Keller. And we're like, dude, we need this. There's a big opening in this space, and there's a big need. So that's where we transitioned the agency into like going after motivated sellers.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's funny how all of us that have like a service business. Not all of us, but you and I and a lot of other people that we know. It was because we tried to solve our own problem first, and then we're like, hey, other people could use this too, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. That's hilarious. So we're going to talk today a fair bit about paid lead gen, online lead gen. I should say online lead generation, and primarily Google and Facebook, and you guys do some SEO stuff. Well, let's just kind of lay out the case for why people, if they're not, should be generating leads online.
Yeah, so there's multiple ways to generate leads. Like you have online, you have mailers, you have texting, email, all that kind of stuff. All marketing is good. Like if you do any of it consistently, you're probably going to get results. The thing that I like about digital is you can get in front of a ton of people for pennies. Like on Facebook, for example, it might cost you $20 to get in front of 1,000 people. So the reach, you can get in front of so many people online for a very affordable cost. It's like having a digital billboard. So that's one of the reasons I say digital is huge, just because the value you get for that dollar, if you run your campaigns properly, can be very lucrative for you.
Yeah. Plus it's, who doesn't go look online for things these days? Like I'll even be in a physical store and about to buy something. I'm like, let me just check and see how much it is on Amazon, or maybe they're out at the store. I'm like, let me just see if it's even available on Amazon. Oh yeah, it's going to be there. Like, oh, it can be delivered by 5 o'clock today. Yeah. Boom. Yeah. So I don't know who doesn't make a major decision these days without doing some online research, right?
Yeah. And you know what else is interesting with digital too is the algorithms like Facebook and Google. They're tracking people based on behavior. So like, say, for example, you're talking about on Amazon, you go look at a pair of shoes, you don't buy them. And then for some reason, your Facebook feed's filled with shoes for the next week. Yeah. So they're able to target people based on the actions that they're taking online, which is really beneficial if we're marketing, because we can target people very efficiently.
Yeah. And I think even if you're, I still very much believe in, obviously we're probably one of the largest done for you solutions for direct mail. We use some really unique data and everything that we do, but it goes hand in hand. Like I feel like, it's very common for people to get a postcard, go online and research that company, maybe still not take action. You have the ability to retarget them and stuff like that. So it doesn't have to be one or the other. Like these things are layers, right, that work together.
100%. You're right too. Cause someone might get, you know how people hold postcards. Like sometimes you'll get a call from someone in a year. They're like, oh yeah, I've been holding on to this, but they're definitely good with it. I don't want to say definitely, but most likely going to look you up online to see if you're reputable.
Right.
And then you're retargeting them and building that credibility for the whole time. They're like, oh yeah, this guy must be pretty good. I see him everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. So we kind of laid out the case here for why people should advertise online. Obviously, everybody's online. See, my grandparents are online. They have Facebook accounts and stuff like that, right? So they have honestly for a long time now. But why wouldn't somebody want to advertise online? Like who's a real estate investor that just doesn't make sense to advertise online?
So it depends. There's a couple types. Like if you're just getting into business, online advertising, you need to have a somewhat healthy budget. Like if you're going to put $5 budget, like an average lead cost in the United States on Facebook may cost about $150. So you can figure out the math there. If you want to get 10 leads, that's $1,500 a month. So you have to have a couple of dollars. If you're just starting out, driving for dollars might be good. Things like that are the more cost-effective ways, because you're either going to trade sweat or you're trading dollars.
That's right.
When you're looking at leads.
Yeah.
So it depends where you're at. If you're to the point where it's like, you know what, I can handle as many leads as can come, or you can get me, and I can scale it, and I have good processes, and I have a budget, that's where digital would fit in. And also other types of marketing. If you're beginning, drive for dollars, text messaging, things like that might be a good route for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And you just get to a point where things like online advertising, direct mail that we do for people is like, those are things that are, especially if you're working with an agency, somebody that can handle it for you. Like scaling is easier. Like if you want to scale driving for dollars and double it, well, you have to double the amount of time you spend on it, right? If you want to raise your online advertising budget or your mail budget, you just tell whoever you're working with, like send them a text and say, double my budget, and you're done, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. And at the end of the day, what I believe this, even though I own an agency, I believe this with every ounce of my being, that most real estate investors are trying to wear every hat in their business, and they tend to like not do anything really good. And they're probably best at acquisitions or doing deals, maybe the dispo side, like, buying and selling houses actually, but you don't have to be good at scrubbing your toilets, and you don't have to be good at, doing marketing and lead gen. And by the way, you're never going to be as good as somebody that does this all day long, every day for hundreds of people. Like you're just never going to be able to compete. And so, why not just outsource those things that you can't be good at in the first place?
Yeah. And that's a good point too. Cause I've heard from so Google pay-per-click's extremely expensive per click in this space. And I've heard from a lot of people are like, you know what, I tried setting it up myself and it just ate my money. So a lot of times, like if you have to kind of at least do some research and know what you're doing, especially when you're paying $30 a click or however expensive it is in your area. But yeah, that's one of the things there, because you can blow through thousands really fast.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about people that do it yourself. They do it on their own, or that would outsource it to an agency. Because you're right. If you're not going to have a healthy budget, it doesn't make sense to pay somebody an agency fee or a management fee to do those things. If your budget is half your budget is going to management fees or whatever, it doesn't make sense, right? But let's talk a little bit about like when it makes sense and when it doesn't for a real estate investor. So let's talk about, first we'll start with, when does it not make sense, or when does it make sense to do it yourself, I guess? Sure.
So there's different types of people I think that it will do really well on doing it themselves. Number one, the guys that are real techie, that just want to learn and like learning how things work. Yeah. You can run, say if you wanted to run Facebook ads, you can start with really small budgets. You might not get a ton of results, but you're learning what works. So you can even start with like a $5 or $10 a day budget, learn how Facebook works. And if you have the time to tinker and you understand technology, that will work. Normally the guys beginning have the extra time and they can figure it out.
Yeah.
The guys that are running businesses and doing tons of deals, most of the people I talk to, either number one, don't want to think about tech, they don't understand it, or they're just too busy. They're like, you know what? I don't even want to learn this. I just want to pay someone that already knows how to do it, because I'm focused on what's making me thousands per hour.
Right. And the reality is it changes all the time, right? So it's not like you can just learn it. It's not like riding a bike, or we were talking the other day about, I've seen a couple jokes about millennials and stick shift cars. Like that's a theft prevention device. I don't know about you. I grew up, my first car was a stick shift, and I haven't had one for a long time, but I could get in one and drive it right now if I need to, no problem. Right. Because it doesn't change much. And I don't know where I'm going down that path with that analogy, but the truth is it changes all the time, right? Like if you learn something, if you don't stay up on it, you might get left behind.
Yeah. And the thing is too, like, even like I'm always testing, like we were talking before the show, we spend a lot of money because we need to see what ads work. Like, for example, during the elections, back when they were doing the presidential elections, we had one ad that was crushing it. It looked like a political type of ad. And then when elections are done, boom, that thing doesn't do anything. So you always have to be staying constantly testing and staying ahead of the curve. And technology is changing. Like, some of these platforms might not be here tomorrow.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. So where do you think, with that said, where do you think kind of paid lead gen is going? Obviously, the internet's not going away. People's problems aren't going away. Like, they still have, people are still dying, and there's death and divorce and inheritance, like problem rentals, like all those problems that create opportunities for us as real estate investors, which we don't wish on anybody, but they're just life, are going to continue to happen. Like, where are the platforms like Facebook lead gen, Google, and I mean, obviously there's a whole bunch of other social media platforms that are constantly coming into play as well. Like, where do you think this scene is going?
Yeah, and that's a good question. So there's even TikTok's out right now. Some people are crushing it on TikTok. I know a lot of the guys doing courses, things like that. I'm talking, we're like, yeah, we're crushing it. So like, what I think about is, with digital marketing in this space, you always want to think, where are the people hanging out that you want to get in front of? Right. And like you're saying, Facebook is an older demographic. Parents, grandparents are on there. Young kids aren't on Facebook anymore.
Right.
But the people we're trying to get in front of right now are on Facebook. But at some point, they're going to transition to somewhere else.
Sure.
Google is a pretty heavy player there. They don't really have any competition. DuckDuckGo's getting into it a little bit on the organic side, from all the people that are paranoid, rightfully so, with all the tracking. Yeah. But Google is, I don't know anyone that's really going to compete with them in the new space, but they're not really a social platform. It's more intent-based, people searching for keywords. I don't know. TikTok's the biggest one I see right now, but it's a bunch of 12-year-olds. So I don't know where the older demographic.
Literally, as we speak, I just created an account here recently, and we're gonna start to put some content out there. But I refuse to dance like a monkey or anything like that. Like, it's not gonna happen. I'm just gonna kind of talk the way I'm talking here, essentially. And if it attracts people, that's great. And if not, that's okay. Truthfully, though, my goal is to take them off of there and try to push them to other platforms, or push them to my website. It's not to, necessarily, because I want to be way more of a content creator than a consumer, especially on TikTok.
Yeah, you got to do the dances, man.
Yeah, no, not me. So, but at the end of the day, I mean, you guys look at those, each of those platforms it's just like a hose, right? Like, that's traffic. How do we connect to it to get them back to our website ultimately, right?
Right. Yeah. So, and you have to think about it like a funnel also. So say even YouTube, like we mess with YouTube, Google, SEO, Facebook, Bing. What you're looking at, say someone comes to your website through Google pay-per-click, you spent $30 to get them to come to your website. If they don't fill the form out and you don't have retargeting going, you just wasted that money.
Right.
If you have retargeting going, you're staying in front of those people and going to scoop them up when they're ready, because they might still be in research mode. Yeah. So you want to look like, what's the entire process? Because if someone wants to sell their house, people aren't just Googling, how do I sell my house fast? Because they're ready right now. They're trying to see, what are my options? They come to your website and then they're gone. They're looking at the next thing.
Yeah.
So it's important to make sure everything works together, even like mailers, things like that. Like what you do, Mike, and even texting, like, try to interlink them all together to build that credibility and be in front of the people and deliver, like, help them out,
Yeah. I love what you said. They're all funnels. They're all like, they're all traffic sources, right? And I think the more real estate investors and all small businesses look at these platforms as just sources of traffic, and they're going to continue, some will go away, some will deteriorate, some will improve with time. And you just have to constantly be looking at, is there another place I could hook my funnel up to that's going to bring me traffic? And then obviously you got to, be able to convert them when they get to your site. But I think if real estate investors could just look at it that way, is Facebook is not Facebook. It's just a traffic source. Like, these are just sources, and you have to test them against each other and see what's working now. And I think one of the things that people struggle with a lot on social media, me included, is that I try to create one size fits all content, but the way that people consume content on different platforms is very different, right?
Big time. And the type of content you need to create, even just on the specific parts of the funnel. Say you're doing Facebook ads. If you're showing to a cold audience, meaning people that have never seen you before, you need a strong direct message, like, sell your house fast, we buy houses, we pay cash, things like that.
Right.
If we're retargeting people, we probably want a video, because now we're trying to build credibility and let them know who we are, not necessarily what we do, but let them know, hey, I'm a local guy. I buy houses. I'm not a big bank going to come in and pound you. So different content for even different stages of the funnel is really important.
Yeah. Yeah. So if folks do want to, and I would advocate, you own an agency and I own an agency. We're talking about that now. I don't want people to think this is just a pitch, but I really want people to be successful. And I know people really struggle when they try to do things themselves. I get it as a real estate investor because we've always tried to be cheap and do stuff ourselves and just like move, I'll handle it. Some guys are getting in there and doing their own rehabs and stuff like that. And that's not really what we signed up for. So I think the best part of this business is, getting better at buying and selling and deal making and, God forbid, enjoying your life. I know you talk about an end time here because you have something going on with your kids. Like that's how life should be spent, not figuring out how to do everything and working like 24 hours a day. Right. But if folks, I think the other side of that is people have hired agencies in the past, and I've done this for sure, that I feel like they did a way better job of selling me on what they could do for me than actually doing for me what they said they were going to do. Right. They weren't great at doing what they said they would do. Or I talked to the owner and next thing you know, my account rep is somebody halfway around the world that can't even speak the language like the way that I can or whatever. And we just kind of get sold a bill of goods or whatever. So when people are looking at agencies, like what should they look for in terms of who would be the right fit for them?
So in the real estate investing space, I highly recommend dealing with an agency that specializes in real estate investors. Reason being, say on Google pay-per-click, the difference from somebody searching sell my house to sell my house fast is a totally different audience. Right. And a lot of digital guys don't know the difference. So you want to find someone that, number one, knows the space, like knows what a motivated seller is, things like that. And then check for testimonials, things like that. That's very important. And if you can find somebody that's an investor, that's huge because they understand, they see it from their side too. Like the marketing we do is what marketing we offer is what we do for ourselves. Right. If you can find things like that, and I'm not saying there are other agencies out there that do the same type of thing. Do your due diligence and mainly find who you fit with as well. Like some people want to have weekly calls. Like I'm not the guy that's going to have a weekly call with you. We're more results driven. Right. Some guys out there too, they want to have weekly calls and all that kind of stuff. And there are people out there for you too. Like just find who do you jive with and is going to deliver what you need.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, in terms of people that you might jive with, you guys are members of the Investor Fuel Mastermind. You've added a ton of value to our members there. I know a lot of your clients are there as well. Would you mind just take a moment and just kind of share your experience of being a member of the Investor Fuel family?
Yeah, so I really do like Investor Fuel. I like the meetings because everyone there is super down to earth. Everyone's giving value and everyone's sharing. So that's one of the main things I like about coming to Fuel events because a lot of times, like a lot of guys are trying to keep secrets and don't want to share what's working. Everyone in Fuel is kind of sharing. So that's one of the top things I like.
Awesome, man. Thanks for that. So if folks wanted to connect with you and they learn more about your agency, we didn't really talk about today, but you've got a podcast, you've got a lot of great information out there. Where can they go to connect with you?
Yeah, just go to motivated-leads.com. And then, if you want to connect, just give us a call, fill out a form, and we can set something up.
Awesome. Brian, thanks so much for your time today.
All right, brother. Friend. Thanks, man.
Yeah. And everybody, thanks for joining us today. Hopefully you got some insights there on what to look for and what to not look for, or what to look for and what to look out for, I guess, when you're doing online lead generation. So appreciate you guys a ton. If you haven't yet checked out Investor Fuel, our next meeting's coming up fast. We meet quarterly, plus a couple of other travel trips in there as well around the year. But just go to investorfuel.com. You can learn a little bit more about us. Actually, we have a lot of information on our website, a lot of testimonials from our customers and our members. And all you do is schedule a call with us to learn more if it's a fit for you, whether you're a single family investor, which is most people in our group. We actually have multifamily groups now for those of you that are looking to transition in to multifamily, or people that already own thousands of doors even. So just go to investorfuel.com to learn more. Brian, thanks again, my friend. Great to see you.
Hey, thanks, man. Thanks for having me. We'll talk soon.
Everybody have a great day. We'll see you on the next show. Are you an active real estate investor? If so, and you want to latch on to the power of surrounding yourself with over 100 of the nation's leading real estate investors, all committed to building stronger businesses and living richer, fuller lives, you should jump on a call with us to learn more about Investor Fuel. Simply visit investorfuel.com to get started.